So Iran's supreme leader has warned that any military involvement by the United States would result in, quote, irreparable damage to the United States. So in one scenario, that damage could involve a direct retaliation on American troops. We have more than 40,000 soldiers stationed in and around the Middle East, with 2,500 of them just next door to Iran at a U.S. base in Iraq. Ballistic missiles could reach them within minutes of being fired, meaning there would be very little time to intercept them or to take cover. Someone who's been thinking a lot about all these scenarios is the former ambassador and special envoy to the Middle East, Dennis Ross. He is currently a distinguished fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, and he has a brand new book out called Statecraft 2.0. Ambassador Ross, great to have you here, and the timing of a book on statecraft coming out could not be more exquisite. So after 5 days of extraordinary losses to Israel, Iran seems to be looking for a way out. What are the chances they will actually, at this point, agree to give up all their nukes?
Look, it's a really fundamental question, isn't it? Because the essence is when the president says they can't have a nuclear weapon, they don't have a nuclear weapon today, but they put themselves in a position where they're a threshold nuclear weapon state. So what's the key objective? When you talk about statecraft, you start with identifying what is your essential objective, and then you think about what your means are. So the essential objective is Iran has to give up a nuclear weapons option. Now, what are the means? The means are clearly what the Israelis are doing, but also the threats that President Trump is making. What you're asking is, will they give all this up? The answer with the Iranians will be to suggest we're prepared to talk. It doesn't mean they're necessarily prepared to concede all of this. They have to understand what they stand to lose. One of the things I did in the book on the chapter on Iran, I looked at every American administration from Carter to today, looked at Iran's behavior in response to them, and what came through was the following. Number one, the most important preoccupation of the regime is survival. Number two, every time they thought about the risk of conflict with the United States, they saw that as risking survival, so they sought to avoid it. And number three, when they measured risks, the higher the risk was in their mind, the more likely they were to make a concession to us. It wasn't always, by the way, the threat of military force. It was even very tough economic sanctions.
So
they said they would. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But so if survival is paramount to this Iranian regime, survival means giving up this nuclear enrichment program. Why wouldn't they do that? Is it pride that keeps them clinging on to this? Why are they not surviving?
They fear looking like they capitulated. When President Trump says unconditional surrender, the Supreme Leader looks at that and says, if I agree to that, my enemies here, our opponents here, those who are prepared to try to change the regime, they'll think that we're so desperate and we're so weak that this is the moment for them to move against us. So they're unlikely to respond to that. But I can tell you, I just returned from having been in Israel and in Jordan. I talked to a number of Arab officials outside of Jordan and in Jordan, and what was coming through was the Iranians are reaching out to all the different Arab leaders, especially those who talk to the United States, and saying, we're ready to negotiate. Some of them were saying, the Iranians were saying, look, we will give up enrichment, but we need a face saver. Now, that again kind of implies there's a level of desperation there. They will publicly not put that out, obviously, because again, that gets to the issue of, does looking weak threaten the regime from within?
So you think, listen, yes. We know that Israel is really pressuring President Trump to pull the trigger, literally, and drop these bunker busters on Fordo.
Right.
But it sounds like you're hearing also clear messages from the Iranians, all through intermediaries to Trump, that hold on, we'll talk, we'll figure a fig leaf to preserve our pride later, but we'll do what you say. There's a chance at a diplomatic solution here.
I think there is a chance. When the president said today, 2 weeks, I don't know that 2 weeks is a magic figure for him. He's used it in other circumstances. But what it tells me is the messages that are coming through to the White House, primarily from the Arabs, is there is a chance here. The Gulf states don't want the war to expand. They would like to see the war end. They're not crying crocodile tears over what's been happening to Iran. They see Iran dramatically weakened, because that's a fact.
Right.
Israel decapitated the military.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.